Hello, and welcome to James Lester's Express Lane, where we get you in and out as fast as possible. For my 100th, that's right, 100th video, I'm doing 5 best television shows of all time. Few caveats: I've not watched every TV show ever, especially like a lot of the older ones, and I'm only going to do shows that I've seen every episode of. Right, maybe I missed an episode here or there, but actually no, every one I'm going to do, I've watched literally every single episode. Thank you, Internet. Anyways, so you'd be like, oh, but this show's better, that show's better. Either A, I didn't watch it, or maybe I watched a season or two, but I didn't watch every episode, so I can't include it to this list. And so, starting with number 5, Cheers and branching shows. Why Cheers? What do we love about Marvel? Iron Man, Hulk, Black Widow, all them all coming together under one franchise. NBC, Cheers did it first. Cheers, Frasier, Wings, St. Elsewhere, all together. Frasier Crane, played by Kelsey Grammer, supposed to be on like 2 or 3 episodes. Well, we all know how that went. He's the only actor to win an award for playing the same character on 3 different shows. Again, Cheers, Frasier, Wings. The show St. Elsewhere was also mentioned when Carla had her kid and she had to go to that hospital. But Cheers, NBC, like what they did was they created a whole world out of the TV shows. It's like, oh yeah, this is what's going on in Cheers, but here's what's going on here, and here's what's going on there. Like, this is all going on at the same time. Which, I don't know if anyone's ever done that before. Maybe they did, I just haven't seen those TV shows. But, speaking of sitcoms, moving on to number 4, Seinfeld. A lot of people don't understand what it's like to watch a show about nothing. Because before, it was always, oh, wacky zany this, kooky crazy that. It was always a premise behind the show. There's always an overlaying theme of like, oh, today's adventure will be this with this crazy person. Oh, today the crazy person's doing that. Well, Seinfeld, it wasn't like that. Seinfeld was just Seinfeld, following a group of people as they live their lives. Nowadays we call that shitty reality TV, but Seinfeld did it first. And Seinfeld was so big, the final episode affected other shows. My most memorable is Dama and Greg. They had a competition, whoever had sex in the weirdest place got to keep the goose. Some, like, lawn ornament thing. And it's like, well, how do we get the goose back? We lost it, how do we get it back? Well, let's have sex here, but people see us. Not if we do it when Seinfeld ends, because on that day, everyone's going to be inside watching Seinfeld. No one else is going to be out. We'll be the only people not watching that episode. So we'll be the only ones out there. We'll be the ones who get the goose back. Like, that's how big of a deal Seinfeld was when it finally ended, that other shows were affected by it. They had nothing to do with it. But, moving away from sitcoms, and on to number 3, South Park. Yes, there's other animated shows out there that have been on longer, might be considered better, but like the past 5 seasons of Simpsons, I haven't watched. I haven't watched Futurama when they went to Comedy Central. I haven't watched Family Guy past couple seasons. Like, I've missed a ton of episodes, so if I had seen every episode of Simpsons, I'm sure Simpsons would be here, but I haven't, so South Park. Not just because of its longevity, but what it does, how it makes you look at things, how it makes you see from another perspective, and of course, just how fucking offensive it. Like, one of my favorite things from them was talking about Cartman. Like, they try to make him evil. Like, they don't want people liking Cartman. They have done everything they can to make Cartman evil and hated, and people just love him still. My second favorite thing, the first time they got to say shit. One of the CEOs, executives, whatever, from Comedy Central was like, no, I thought they'd do it like how NYPD Blue did it. No, at the end, just, know what? Sometimes life can really give you shit. Then I saw the counter at the bottom, I'm like, oh god, we're in trouble. South Park pushes the boundaries, and in a country like America, you can push the boundaries. There's countries where you offend someone, you get beheaded. In America, you offend someone, here's 2 more seasons for your TV show. It's freedom of speech, amazing. South Park pushes the envelope on it, as they should. They push it more than just about anyone out there. But, going as far away from South Park as you can possibly get, number 2, Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. If you can only have your kid watch one show when growing up, screw Paw Patrol, screw SpongeBob, Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood should be it. He covers so many subjects, things that other TV shows for that era or even today don't cover for kids. And not only that, there's a badass. Coco the Gorilla was a fan of his, so he goes and visits her. Whenever he does his TV show, he comes in the house, takes his shoes off. He walks into her enclosure, she goes over to him and takes his shoes off for him. There's no 800-pound beast just goes over and takes his shoes off for him, because that's what he does when he enters an enclosure. He takes his shoes off. And she does it for him. Not only that, but the money that he donated, and that he appeared in front of Congress twice and won both times. Congress was going to try to cut funding to PBS. He goes there, not only do they not cut funding, they increase it. Next time they're going to try to get rid of the VHS video recording system because, people record our show and then they skip the commercials, and then our commercials don't like that. He goes in front of Congress like, no, parents have to work during the day. Sometimes my show is on. They can record it, they can watch it first, make sure they want to be okay for their kid to watch, or they record it and then they watch it at their leisure with their kids, after school, before school, during the weekend. And sure enough, as we all know, VHS wasn't canceled. That's how much of a badass. He went in front of Congress twice and won. But what could possibly be number one? One of the greatest shows, the greatest show of all time, The Twilight Zone. There are episodes that will be immortalized forever just from all the parodies and spoofs and rip-offs. Time Enough at Last, To Serve Man, Changing of the Guard, just so many episodes. Or that, what was it, the movie with Hugh Jackman, Real Steel with fighting robots, totally ripped off from an episode of this. There's just so much from The Twilight Zone that exists today because of The Twilight Zone. And Rod Serling did an amazing job. Thankfully, the only time he ever had to deal with censorship was he was doing a episode on a British ship, and they ordered a tray of tea. But one of his sponsors was coffee, and so he had to change it from tray of tea, which he's like, oh, they're British, they're going to order a tray of tea, but he had to change it to a tray of coffee. And as far as I could find, that was about the only time he ever had to censor anything. You might be wondering, well, that's not that big a deal. You don't understand. This is the 1950s, early 60s. Everything was censored. Lassie has puppies. They got death threats because Lassie had puppies. And here's this guy. He's pushing the envelope for back then, doing what South Park's doing today. He's pushing the envelope back then in a much stricter time during the Cold War, during McCarthyism. Just wow, did he push the envelope? And he created some incredible episodes. If he had today's CGI technology and budget, then it would have been over. All right, here are the TV awards. Here you go, wrestling. Here's all of them. Amazing show. They got it on DVD. They got it on Blu-ray. They download. It's everywhere. Check out Twilight Zone if you haven't yet. The only episodes I can think of that were considered bad was during season 4 when they had to stretch them out to hour-longs. And even then, that's only 2 or 3 of them were bad compared to the rest. Check them out, check them out, check them out. As always, like, subscribe, comment down below, and have a wonderful day.